When the conversation comes up about manga with really exceptional world building, more often than not you're gonna hear Jobless Reincarnation, One Piece, maybe even Made in the Abyss. In less mainstream circles, you might even hear of a manga called Land of the Lustrous, which is the next manga I plan on covering, by the way. But if you dig even deeper than that, you're gonna come across a series of events detailing race, literature, religion, culture, war, love, strife in such extensive and realistic detail that you soon begin to wonder if this was some parody of some long forgotten piece of history lost to mankind. For every event detailed in this manga weaves together a world so vastly different and yet so eerily similar to our own society that you find your hearts crying out for the oppressed or singing for joy at a union that was never meant to be, for a world and for a people that are not your own. This isn't just any normal fantasy, this is fantasy through the lens of knowledge, and this manga is called Magus Of The Library, written and illustrated by Mitsu Uzumi. Stephen King once said, "A book is uniquely portable magic," and these words were towards no one more than Theophilus, a child who loved reading more than anything in the world. Books took him on a wild, amazing adventure to distract him from his more unforgiving life. You see, Theo was one of the poorest people in his village, and that led to a lot of prejudice and discrimination from those around him. He's bullied, avoided, and even called long ears instead of Theo. The worst of such discrimination, though, comes from the caretaker of the library, who has forbidden Theo from setting foot inside the library. And to young Theo, this hurt more than anything the town people could throw at him. Books were his only escape from the prejudice and misery he faced on a daily basis. Without them, what would he make of his life? To him, books were the most priceless thing in the world, and no one understood the love he had for books. Well, almost no one. You see, in this manga, the world is ruled by knowledge, literally. The more access you have to books and libraries that kept them, the more powerful and respected you are. Magic, history, culture, nature, philosophy, it's all stored in books. The power to make or break the world, and a select few called the Kafna are tasked with protecting and spreading that knowledge. But these aren't just regular librarians. They're scholars, adventurers, artisans, linguists, literal magic wielders who travel across the world protecting and restoring knowledge. Anything from the history of wildflowers to the lost scrolls of a long forgotten kingdom. And before you get the wrong idea, this manga isn't about magic books with spells that change the world. It's about almanacs, history books, fantasy novels, bedtime stories, folklore, knowledge at its purest form, and those who protect and share this knowledge, the Kafna. Kafna are some of the most respected people in the world, and more importantly, they get to spend all their time with books, whether it be traveling the world fighting and restoring ancient texts in a dead language, or fixing the bindings of children's books in an old rundown library. Their entire world revolves around books, and Theo would want nothing more than to be one of these fabled protectors of books. But he's not sure they'd accept him, or how he'd even go around becoming a Kafna in the first place. That is until one day a band of traveling Kafna touched down in his village and changed his life forever. One of these Kafna named Sedona sees a curiosity and love of knowledge in Theo unlike anything she's ever seen before, and gives him a book that's much darker than anyone could have originally anticipated. But this single act sets in motion one of the most beautiful coming of age journeys I've ever read in a manga. That moment wasn't just an act of kindness, it was a spark that would light a fire that would both warm and blind the entire continent. For Theo, it was like being handed proof that his dreams weren't foolish. For the first time, someone from the world he worshipped actually saw him. For the first time in his life, someone actually saw him. Sedona's small gesture planted the seed in Theo's heart, the idea that maybe, just maybe, he could stand among the Kafna someday. From there, Magus Of The Library transforms from a simple story about a boy who loves books into a sweeping odyssey about what knowledge truly means. Theo leaves his small desert village behind and travels towards the legendary city of Austak, the city of books, an endless metropolis built around a giant living library. Towers of parchment and ink spiraling to the sky, canals where words flow like rivers, and streets lined with storytellers from every corner of the world. But he didn't travel hundreds of miles just to experience the beauty of the city. No, he came for one of the most grueling tests on the continent, the Kafna exam. Being a Kafna means putting your body, soul, and mind on the line for knowledge. Candidates who pass the exam go through everything from studying ancient languages to repairing lost manuscripts to straight up wilderness survival and artifact recovery. 1 week you're learning how to restore a burnt scroll from the ruins of a fallen kingdom. The next week you're trekking through monster-infested deserts to receive a single book page buried under a century's worth of sand. And that's just as a trainee. Actual Kafna go through much more depending on their expertise. Some going as far as tracking down and disbanding groups that wish to plunge the entire world into darkness through the power of false knowledge. Every culture in this world has its own relationship with knowledge. Some see books as sacred relics, Others treat them as tools of power, and some burn them in fear of what the truth might bring. Because while knowledge is a powerful tool, false knowledge is a plague that rots and corrupts the mind until it's twisted into a revolting mess. And that is overly evident in the black text. You see, after the events of a great Magus war that nearly destroyed the continent, a strange text made its way through the masses. A text that painted the minority known as the Hapu people as a lesser race than the predominant Hurrian people. The text disregarded their religion, family structure, even their very right to live. It is not known if the text, no thicker than a pamphlet, was meant to be satirical or actually made with malicious intent, but the effect it had changed the world forever. Hundreds of Hurrian people invaded the land of the peaceful Hapi and slaughtered them by the hundreds. The genocide was so thorough that the Hapi became an endangered people. It was incredibly rare to see one, and even rarer to see someone of mixed Hapu and Hurrian blood like Theo. And while the Coffin of the Library worked tirelessly to confiscate all copies of the black text, a lot of people still hold the teachings of the black text in high regard, almost to the point of it being a religion, which leads to a lot of prejudice against Theo even in the city of books, and in some cases flat out racism against his people. And this doesn't just affect Theo, other races have suffered from such similar fates. Like another Captain candidate, Theo's friend, Dionysus Dioga, a person of mixed heritage like Theo with an equally dark past. You see, Ioga is part Hurrian and part Kriak. The Kriak are a race with animal ears atop their heads and tails. They are strong, hardy people with a rich culture and deep understanding of people and nature. But that didn't stop them from being captured and used as slaves by the Rakta people for hundreds of years, until the people were eventually freed by a new law. But that hasn't stopped the discrimination against her people by a majority of the society. The world still looks down on them, whispering with the same venom that once justified their chains. And like Theo, Dioga carries the legacy of pain quietly, trying to build a new future in the world that still refuses to let go of their past. But even through all the pain and hardship of this world, we still see love through Theo's eyes. Through Theo's eyes, we see how literature shapes society, fuels revolutions, and sometimes even destroys civilizations. But that doesn't make the books themselves evil. Knowledge in any form, from any source, deserves to be loved and protected no matter what. Right? Because that's the question Magus the Library keeps asking you over and over again. Is knowledge truly pure, or does it become tainted in the moment it falls into the hands of humans? Throughout Theo's journey, we see that books aren't just tools for learning, they're mirrors, reflecting both the beauty and ugliness of the people who write them and read them. In the wrong hands, a single page can justify a massacre, but in the right hands, the same page can save a soul. And that's what makes this manga so beautiful. It doesn't shy away from showing the duality of knowledge, that the same words that bring enlightenment can also bring destruction. Every chapter feels like a history lesson on humanity itself. The way nations rise and fall because of the stories that they choose to believe. The way people twist the truth into weapons, and how easily lies can be made to look like the truth. Yet in all that chaos, Magus the Library never loses sight of hope. Even in a world drowning in prejudice, misinformation, and pain, there is still that one boy clutching a book tighter than his own heartbeat, believing that somewhere in those pages lies the strength to make things better. Theo's faith in knowledge isn't naive, it's revolutionary, because in a world where ignorance has killed thousands and enslaved hundreds of thousands, Theo refuses to let ignorance be an excuse, and strives to be the protector and the ambassador of knowledge. The world of Magus the Library feels so real because it isn't built on magic systems or massive battles. It's built on ideals. Each culture, each race, each nation's relationship with books and knowledge says something about our own world. There are people who hoard information to control others, those who destroy out of fear, and those who protect it because they believe stories are worth saving. It's not hard to see the parallels. Magus the Library might be fantasy, but it speaks about us. About censorship, inequality, and how easy it is to let hate spread when this truth is silenced. What really elevates this manga is how Mitsu Izumi weaves philosophy into world building without ever losing the magic. The art itself feels alive. Pages filled with glowing libraries, windblown deserts, ancient ruins, and characters whose emotion you can feel. Even quiet scenes like Theo sitting by candlelight reading in the dark carry more weight than 1,000 action panels. Every race is given its own in-depth lore, family dynamics, religion, culture, climate, even common opinions about them from other races, got it from varying sources such as first-hand accounts or even history books. You can tell that every stroke of ink was made with love for storytelling itself, and as Theo grows, so does the world around him. You start to realize that Magus the Library isn't just about a boy chasing a dream. It's about what happens when someone refuses to let the world define what knowledge should mean. Theo doesn't fight with weapons, he fights with empathy, with curiosity, and with the belief that even in a broken world, stories can still connect people who would otherwise hate each other. The manga just genuinely feels like, I don't know, it feels like life. The good, the bad, the ugly, the pain, the joy, the sorrow, wonder, splendor, disdain, drawn beautifully and written with an almost philosophical level of insights. So when people talk about great world-building mangas, One Piece, Made in Abyss, Frieren, they're not wrong. But Magus of the Library deserves to stand among them. Not just among them, above them. Not only for the size of the world, but for the depth and thought put into each and every part of the world. It's one of those rare series that makes you want to read slower, just to savor every panel. It's a story that reminds you about why stories matter, because a book is a bridge. Every page, every heartbeat, every reader are Magus in their own right. Because when you strip away the politics, the magic system, and the wars, what you're left with is a simple truth. A story only has power if there's someone willing to read it. And Theophumus is that someone. This has been the source material, and if there's one thing Magus of the Library has taught me, is that never underestimate the magic of a book, because sometimes a smaller story can change the entire world. That'll be all for today. Bless.